I used to think if I wanted to build a successful creative business, the product had to do all the heavy lifting. Like the artwork had to be better, the product had to be more impressive, the packaging had to be more beautiful, I had to be more talented, more polished, more interesting, cooler, and like naturally magnetic. And basically, I thought that people had to look at the thing I made and immediately think, yes, this is the best version of that thing I have ever seen ever. And I don't think I realized how much pressure that was putting on every single thing I made. Because if the product is the only reason someone buys from you, then the product has to carry everything. It has to be the most original, best value, most exciting, perfectly packaged thing in a sea of other people making lovely things too. And that is an exhausting way to build a creative business. But what I've learned over the last few years is that people don't only buy the best product. They buy the thing they feel connected to. They buy the story, the process, the person, the meaning behind it, and the feeling that it gives them. And the reason I'm sharing this now is because I'm launching something new. It's something physical again, and I'm building it completely different this time because of everything that I've learned. So in this video, I want to walk you through 6 lessons that I'm applying to this new income stream as I build it. And I'm going to use the Work in Progress Club, the thing that I've just launched, as a live case study so that you can see exactly how I'm thinking about this differently now. So if you're watching this, chances are you make things that take time and skill and care to create. And maybe you've been doing this for a while now and you've had sales, you've had people tell you how much they love your work, and you've had those moments where you think, okay, this could actually work. But there's probably also that nagging feeling that you're constantly trying to prove yourself or trying to make the next thing better than the last thing, and you're wondering if your work is good enough or impressive enough or original enough to actually stand out. And that pressure never really goes away, because when the product has to do all that heavy lifting and it's the sole reason that someone chooses you over everyone else, that's a lot of weight for one thing to carry. But what I've realized is that the product being good is just the baseline. It's like an entry point, and what actually makes someone buy from you specifically is often something completely different. Right, lesson 1, don't do something just because it's trending. So let me tell you quickly about what I'm launching, because I'm using this as a real-time case study for everything I'm about to teach you. It's called the Work in Progress Club, and it's a monthly physical letter subscription for creative business owners. So each month you get a letter in the post with prompts, challenges, action steps, and collectible illustrated pieces, all designed to help you pause, zoom out from the day-to-day chaos of running a creative business, and actually make progress on what matters. Now, letter clubs are really popular right now. There are so many of them, and a lot of them are doing really well. And I could have looked at that and thought, great, that's validation that this is a good idea. Let me just do my version of what's already working. But that's not enough of a reason to enter a busy space, because if you're just copying what's trending without having your own angle or your own reason for existing, you're going to struggle to stand out, and you're gonna struggle to sustain it when the trend moves on. So I had to ask myself, why does my version need to exist? What am I bringing to this that's different? Not just in terms of what it looks like actually my art style, but in terms of what it actually does for people. And for me, the answer is that most letter clubs I've seen are about slowing down, getting a slice of your favorite artist's work, and treating yourself to something cute in the post. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that approach at all. It's obviously working brilliantly for a lot of people. But if you don't have a viral video moment or a really big following, how are you going to stand out in that space? Because when everyone's offering gorgeous artwork, cute letters, and aesthetic treats, you need a different angle to cut through the noise. So for the Work in Progress Club, yes, it's got cute illustrated pieces and the aesthetic appeal, because at the end of the day, I'm an illustrator and I love making things beautiful and I couldn't not put that time into the creation side of it. But that's not really what it's about. It's about accountability and motivation and giving creative business owners a monthly reset that actually helps them take action in their business. It's about creating something that's purposeful and pretty. So that's the angle, and that's why I felt confident moving forward with it, even though the space is crowded. Because I'm not trying to compete on who has the most beautiful letter or the most Instagrammable packaging. I'm trying to solve a specific problem for a very specific person. So if you're thinking about adding a new revenue stream to your creative business, take this lesson and think about what you're actually bringing to the table that's different. Not just visually different, but functionally as well. What problem are you solving that other people in that space aren't addressing? What angle do you have that makes your version worth choosing, especially if you don't have a massive following to rely on? And don't get me wrong, you do not need a big following to make meaningful sales. I truly, truly believe that. And if you want to go deeper into why I think that, subscribe to the channel because I've got lots of videos all about that topic. But entering a crowded market isn't a bad thing, but entering it without a clear reason for why your version exists is where people get stuck. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you do need to know what makes your offer worth buying. The second lesson I'm applying here is building something that actually fits my real life and my capacity, and not just what looks good on paper. Because I've learned this one the hard way. So a few years ago, I ran goodie boxes on my Patreon, which were these curated subscription boxes full of illustrated stationery and artwork and handmade products, and people loved them. They sold really well, and on the surface, it looked like this brilliant income stream that I should just keep going with forever. But behind the scenes, the fulfillment was absolutely taking over my life. I was spending entire weeks, like a whole month, just designing, making, fulfilling, and it got to the point where I dreaded launch week because I knew it meant that I'd be buried in boxes for days. And some of you might be rolling your eyes right now thinking, oh my God, what an awful problem to have, drowning in orders when I'm still trying to even get to that stage. And I get it, it can sound completely unrelatable, but remember, I wasn't always getting lots of orders and signups. I learned a lot of lessons along the way to get to that point, which is exactly why I'm sharing them with you now. And the reason I'm bringing this point up about drowning in orders is that it didn't have to be that hard. I made it complicated for myself by continually adding complex, time-consuming products right after I'd had a baby. And I'm telling you this as a warning that even if you don't have sales right now, when you do, you want to build it in a sustainable way so that you don't end up resenting the thing that you actually love making. And that's why with the Work in Progress Club, I've been really intentional about keeping it manageable. Everything fits in a standard envelope, which means postage can stay low, I can offer it worldwide without costing a fortune, and the items are things that I can either design once and print in batches, or things that I can source reliably without it becoming a full-time job just to keep it stocked. So I'm not trying to create the most elaborate subscription in the world. I'm trying to create something that can actually sustain whilst running everything else in my business, because I'm running my software company for creatives, Artova. I'm still selling digital products. I'm creating content for this channel. Like, there are a lot of plates spinning already, and I don't want something that I can't keep on top of. So if you're thinking about adding a new income stream or launching a new product, get really honest with yourself about what your actual capacity is right now, not what you wish it was or what it might be in 6 months' time. Look at your current life, your current energy levels, your commitments, and design something that fits into that reality, because it's so much better to launch something simple that you can sustain than to launch something impressive, quote unquote, that burns you out in 3 months. And if you've already got something running that's starting to feel overwhelming, it's okay to simplify it. Sometimes you don't realize something is unsustainable until you're in the messy middle, and it's okay to adapt. So the third lesson is understanding that the value isn't just the physical product itself, it's everything else around it. And this is where I think a lot of product-based businesses get stuck, because we're so focused on making the thing itself beautiful or impressive or high quality that we forget people are buying more than just that object. Now, for me with the Work in Progress Club, the value isn't the physical letter or the illustrated prints or the stickers, even though it's going to be so cute, I'm so excited, but the value is the monthly reset, the accountability, the feeling of being part of a community of other creative business owners who are building something in the messy middle, and giving people permission to pause and actually think about what needs their attention next, instead of just grinding through their to-do list every week. Now, you don't need to be teaching anything or offering accountability like I am, because that might not be your business model at all. But really take time to think about what the value is that you're actually offering beyond just the physical product itself. The value can mean a load of different things, not just something teachable or actionable. So a few examples of this, maybe the value is nostalgia. So you're creating illustrated prints of childhood memories that make people feel something, or an aspiration or an identity or connection. Maybe your work makes someone feel less alone in something they're going through, or maybe it's just pure joy and escape, which is valuable too. The point is, people aren't just buying the thing, they're buying what the thing represents or what it helps them feel or express. And when you can articulate that, even just to yourself, it completely changes how you talk about your work and who it's for. The physical items are just the vehicle for delivering that value and that message. And once I understood that, it really changed how I structured the Work in Progress Club, like what I actually wanted it to be and how I'm shaping it going forward. So if you want these monthly action steps and accountability landing on your doorstep, go check the link in the description. It's open worldwide and all shipping's included. So the fourth lesson is about the process and story behind what you're building, a part of what people connect with. And you need to build it in a way that leaves space for you to actually share that. So with the goodie boxes that I mentioned earlier, I was so overwhelmed with fulfillment that I had no energy left to document the process or share the behind the scenes or talk about what I was learning. And that meant that people only ever saw the finished product. They didn't see the work that went into it, or the decisions that I was making, or the challenges I was figuring out as I went. And I think I really missed an opportunity there, because people love seeing the messy middle. They love feeling like they're part of the journey, and they're much more likely to buy from you when they feel connected to the story behind what you're making. So with the Work in Progress Club, I'm building it in a way where I actually have the capacity to share the process alongside running it. Because yes, it's still going to take work. This isn't some passive income stream that the gurus tell you about. And I don't want to diminish the work that people put into their letter clubs, because it absolutely can be time consuming. And a lot of the creatives that talk about letter clubs that have thousands and thousands and thousands of letters to send every month, yes, that's going to be a full-time job in itself. But if you're worried about that being the issue, then there are things you can do to put in place, like setting limited spaces and capping the amount of people that can join. I'm not going to worry about that just yet, but you never know. But even with that said, I know it's going to be less time consuming than what I was doing with these goodie boxes, where I was sewing 40 pencil cases, sublimating all the fabric myself, sewing zips, lining, making magnets, cutting full sticker sheets, sewing coasters, and notebooks. I was doing everything myself, and it was taking over my entire life. So I'm building this with enough breathing room that I can still spend some of the time actually documenting the journey and showing you what I'm learning and being honest about what's working and what isn't. because I think that's part of what makes it meaningful, not just for the people who join, it's also for any of you watching who's still trying to figure out how to build something sustainable in their own creative business. So the fifth lesson, and this one is really important, is check the numbers before you spend time making something prettier. Because it's very easy as a creative person to get caught up in all the aesthetics and the details and perfecting every little thing. And then you launch and you realize that your margins don't actually work, or you've priced it too low, or you've built something that looks impressive but isn't actually profitable. So I'm using Artova, which is the software that I built for creative business owners, and specifically the product profit calculator tool that's inside has been absolutely essential for planning out exactly what I can include in each letter whilst still making it financially sustainable. So I've put all my costs in, the printing, the packaging, the postage, the little extras, and I can see instantly what my profit margin is at different price points. And that's meant making some hard decisions because I always wanted to keep the Work in Progress Club as affordable as possible, since for me it's really about building community and connection with my audience. It also can't turn a loss, so I still need to be careful about what I'm putting into it and making sure that the numbers actually work. Now, if your focus needs to be profit, then you need to plan for that from the start, because you're running a business at the end of the day, and not everyone can afford to create income streams that's only about building connection. You have to be really honest with yourself about what each part of your business needs to do for you financially and design it accordingly. But Artova isn't just a place for creatives to check their numbers. That's just one tiny part of it. It's a whole ecosystem behind your creative business. So it's where I'm planning the entire launch timeline week by week, mapping out all the content that I need to create around it, organizing my tasks so that I can see what needs to happen when, and keeping all my ideas in one visual space instead of scattered across 5 different notebooks. When you're launching something new whilst running everything else in your business, you need to be able to see the whole picture in one place, not just the bits and pieces spread across a million different tools. And I know that planning and organization doesn't sound as exciting as the creative side, although actually I really love planning, which I guess is why I built a software company around it. But that is the part that actually determines whether you can sustain something long term or whether you burn out in 3 months because everything feels chaotic and overwhelming. So when the behind the scenes structure is solid, the creative part gets to be enjoyable instead of stressful. And to be honest, I think having some constraints often make the final result better anyway, because it forces you to be creative with what you have rather than just throwing money at every idea that sounds good. And that brings me to my 6th lesson, which is that sustainable growth matters so much more than impressive looking chaos. Because I think there's this pressure, especially on social media, to always be doing something big and exciting and impressive, like always launch something new or scale something up or hit a massive milestone. And it's very easy to feel like you're falling behind if you're building something slowly and carefully and making sure that each step is actually solid before you move on to the next one. But I've really learned that slow, sustainable growth is what actually lasts, and it's what actually gives you the freedom to enjoy what you're building rather than constantly chasing the next thing. So with the Work in Progress Club, I'm not trying to get 1,000 subscribers in the first month. I'm not trying to make it the biggest or most complicated subscription out there. I'm just trying to create something useful and aligned and manageable that I can grow steadily over time as I learn what works and what doesn't. And I'm really okay with that taking longer, because I'd rather build something that actually lasts and that I still enjoy running rather than something that looks impressive at launch and then collapses a few months later because I couldn't sustain it. So here's the bigger point that I want to leave you with. And this applies whether you're launching something new or you're trying to grow what you already have. You don't need to be the best or create the most elaborate product or have the most impressive looking business. You need to build something that people feel connected to, that gives real value, and that you can actually sustain. Because the product being good is the baseline, and what actually makes people choose you is the story, the meaning, the feeling, the sense that they're part of something, and the trust that you build through showing up consistently and honestly. And when you focus on that, instead of trying to make everything perfect or better than everyone else, it takes so much pressure off and it makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable to build. So if you're curious about the Work in Progress Club and you want to see how I'm building this in real time, you can join now. It doesn't matter when you're watching this video or listening to this podcast. If you sign up before the 25th of any month, you'll receive the next month's issue, and orders placed after the 25th will automatically roll into the following month's issue. It's a monthly letter for creative business owners filled with prompts, challenges, and illustrated collectibles, all designed to help you pause, reset, and actually make progress on what matters in your business. The link is in the description, or you can just head to thecreativejuiceclub.com/work-in-progress. And I'll be sharing everything I'm learning as I build this. So if you want to see how I'm using these exact lessons to structure something new whilst running everything else, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to know more about how I structure my creative business to spend more time actually creating, this video walks you through the exact strategies I use. So just click here to watch.